everybody, and welcome back. So in today's video, you saw by the title, I'm sure, I'm going to be discussing my eating disorder with you all. This is my second time filming this video. I was editing the original video and I was looking really crazy in that video, and I was stuttering and I was very nervous, and I just decided to just sit down in a chair, have my cup of coffee, and just talk to you guys instead of trying to make like a story time out of it. I just wanted to be real with you guys about what it is I'm experiencing, what I experienced, and how I got into recovery. I am making this video right now because we are all suffering to some extent right now with house arrest, and I feel like even though I know that everyone is suffering and everyone is giving something up, I feel like if you have any kind of mental health illness or emotional distress or something like that, you're probably just a little worse off than the average person. So I wanted to come out and speak to you as an average person who's struggling right now. I'm struggling with being on house arrest. It is really confining. I'm facing a lot of issues that I thought that I had overcome. It's really hard. It's like if you're with a group of people, you're with a caravan and you're hiking up to the top of the mountain, and you're all carrying the same amount of food and supplies, and you have to get to the top of the mountain in order to get shelter. It's going to be hard for everyone to climb that mountain, but it's going to be a little bit harder for someone who has an injury or has a disability or something that's holding them back. So that's the way I feel about this. I'm not whining about being in quarantine, but it is taking its toll, and I just want to reach out to everyone else who deals with anxiety or depression or any other kind of mental health illness, and just let you know that you're not alone. And I want to tell my story. So I have been in recovery for about almost a year now, and I discovered I had eating disorders by accident. And after I was diagnosed, I went and I started investigating and researching eating disorders, and I found out that a lot of people do in fact find out that they have eating disorders when they're being treated for something else. In my case, I was being treated for PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. That disorder had gotten really bad for me, and I had been under doctor's care for about 8 months, and we were trying to figure out how bad my symptoms would get. And once they got really bad, my doctor decided to put me on medication. And it was through that medication that I found out that I had an eating disorder. And on the medication for about a week, I started noticing different thoughts and feelings that I was experiencing that I had never ever experienced before. Most of it was absolute silence and relief. And I realized that I wasn't thinking about food, that I wasn't craving food, that I wasn't obsessing over food. And I knew that there was a difference in my brain chemistry from then to before I started the medication. And I got concerned, and I talked to my husband about it, and he told me that the medication that I'm on for PMDD is also used to treat eating disorders. And after I told him, that I wasn't obsessing over food or anything, he said, I think it's best if you start seeing a therapist. So that's what I did. I started seeing a therapist. And just before we get really deep into this story, I am on medication. I'm on medication and I am in therapy. And if that is not something you're interested in or that you don't agree with, I'm sorry, but being on medication, it works for me. It saved my life. And I know that that doesn't work for everyone, but it's the right treatment for me. I suffered from an eating disorder for most of my life. Definitely since I was a little girl. I had trouble with food, and it manifested itself in a lot of different ways that quite frankly, my parents didn't think that it was anything other than just childhood stuff. And why would they? It's not something that we're all educated about. yeah, it's something I've been dealing with all my life. And to let you know, my diagnoses, I have binge eating disorder is my main eating disorder. But I also have OCD related eating disorder, which means that I obsess to the point of my detriment over food and calories and carbs and what I'm eating and where I'm eating and all of that. It's really bad. So that's my second. I have multiple eating disorders, plural. And I also suffer from body dysmorphia. That's where I'm very critical to the point, again, to my own detriment. I obsess over my appearance. I compare myself to other people. That's when the OCD comes in, where it's something that I can't let go of, and it affects my everyday life. It affects my relationships with people. It affects how I see myself. And I also have just general eating disorders where sometimes you have an unhealthy relationship with food, but the disorder doesn't have its own category. And for me, I do have some experience with bulimia and, throwing my food up and things like that. So yeah, I was very, very sick, and the older I got, the worse it got. Yeah, I didn't know until the misfirings in my brain actually stopped due to the medication. And after that, I started seeing a therapist, and I'm still in therapy. I will probably be in therapy for the rest of my life, and I will probably be on medication for the rest of my life. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the last time I actually had a binge eating episode. It was last March, so it's been a year since I've had a binge eating episode, but I didn't start taking medication until May 1st. I remember this clear as day, but what's funny is that I didn't remember it until I started to get better, because I had done it so often, and it was such a normal part of me and my personality that I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it was anything out of the ordinary. Just as with all the other times, I just decided to do it. It's like this urgent need to just go and to binge eat. And I got on my bike. I have a Peloton, and I got on my Peloton, and I did an hour-long workout. And then I did another hour-long yoga session and some weightlifting. I went upstairs. I took a shower. I got dressed. I went to the store. I got half of a cake, which is, you go into the grocery store bakery and they have cakes, like bundt cakes, and they're cut in half. And then I got a slice of cake. I remember what that was. That was German chocolate. And then I went and got a package of my favorite cookies. And then I went and got a bag of chips. And I took all of that home. And I got home and I brewed me some coffee, and I laid out all of the food on the coffee table in front of me, and then I had like a plate beside me, and I turned on the TV and I snuggled up under my electric blanket, and I methodically ate every single bite of that food. I had done it so much it didn't seem abnormal to me. But now that I think back on it, I had to have known that something was wrong, because I took all of the remains, all the paper, the wrapping and everything. I put it in a plastic grocery bag and I tied it up, and then I put it inside our bigger trash bag, tied that up, took it down to the garage and put it in the big trash can, because I didn't want my husband to see what I had bought. So there was a part of me that knew that you're not well, you shouldn't be doing this, but I did it anyway. Later that day, I stayed on path of what I typically do when I binge eat. My husband came home. I had dinner for him, and he said, you're gonna come eat dinner with me. Do you want me to make your plate? And I said, oh no, I've already eaten. You go ahead. I've already had my dinner. And that was a lie. But it wasn't, because I had eaten so much. But after a binge eating session, I would punish myself and not eat for 2 or 3 days. So after I had that, I would just go and have water and coffee and tea for the next couple of days. My doctor told me that kind of binge eating episode is like classic. It's classic binge eating. That's like one of the first symptoms. Arranging your food, having like this routine of what you do, the way you eat. You know, I would eat all of the sweet stuff as much as I could and then eat something salty. That's what the chips were for. So I would eat the chips so that the sick sugar rush feeling that you have when you have too many sweets, that went away after I ate the chips, so I could continue eating the cookies and the cake. And that is just classic behavior of someone who has an eating disorder, as well as sneaking around and never speaking of it. My husband had no idea that I was binge eating, and we've been together for years, and he had no idea what I was doing. My parents had no idea that I used to binge eat and throw up when I was younger. It was just a vicious cycle that I repeated throughout my entire life. And so that brings us to present day. I am in quarantine like everyone else all over the world, and I have been surrounded by food. And part of my OCD eating disorder is that I obsessed over food so much. I spent my life planning around food. I used to be a cooking contester, and a cooking contester is where you make recipes, you enter contests that corporations give, and you enter, and so they choose you to either compete or you just win the contest outright. I actually submitted 2 recipes to Food Network. Two of them was accepted. 2 were accepted, and one of those recipes ended up getting me on a Food Network show. After I did that Food Network show, I came in 3rd, but I came in 1st in my category. But in overall, I came in 3rd. And I got so many offers from so many people, even famous people, that I could come and work in their restaurants and the local stores in the town that we lived in. It was a very small town, so everyone was watching. And it was an opportunity that someone else would have really succeeded in. But at that time, I had just enough awareness to know that if I created a career around food, that it would destroy me. It would destroy me. And so I had to decide between food and my sanity. And I never entered another contest after that. And I turned down all of the offers. Cooking and beauty, both my passions. I went to cosmetology school, and obviously I love to cook, but I learned pretty early on in the YouTube experience that I need to switch my content up because I was not in the state of mind to have a cooking channel. I'm around food all day, and I have to meal plan, and we can't get takeout or anything, and I have to go grocery shopping. I have to ration how many eggs we're using and things like that, because there are shortages everywhere. So that triggered me a little bit. So I had a therapy session this past week, and my therapist agreed that I was kind of spiraling, but I wasn't spiraling, but I was just starting to have really negative feelings about myself. And it wasn't that I was tempted by the food. It was just that I was disappointed that I was thinking about food this much. I thought I had overcome that, and it turns out that I hadn't. So my therapist increased my therapy sessions through this time, because this is a very stressful time. This is when a lot of your triggers are going to come out and try to grab hold of you, and you have to fight them off. My doctor also adjusted my medication, and I'm going to be on this medication for the remainder of the coronavirus pandemic. So, once that's under control, I'll probably go back to my regular meds. But for right now, I'm on different meds as well. You have symptoms to eating disorders, and you really don't even understand their symptoms of eating disorders. So for example, I couldn't swallow food sometimes. This happened about 10 or 11 years ago. I was in Salem for like this Halloween thing, and I went to a restaurant that was highly recommended and rated, and I had their flight of fries, and it was like fries and then like these special dipping sauces. And I just reached for the fry and started eating them. They were really good, and then just all of a sudden I just couldn't swallow them, and nothing provoked it. I wasn't having an anxiety attack until I couldn't swallow that French fry. And I think now, at the time, I think back that was me trying to prevent myself from eating too many fries. My therapist also said that is a classic eating disorder symptom and anxiety symptom, and it means that I don't trust myself. So I don't trust myself to stop eating. I don't trust myself to nourish my body the way it should. I don't trust being able to stop. So I create scenarios and issues that kind of effectively control my food intake. And I suffered with not being able to swallow food for 10 years. And it wasn't like constant, but I did stop eating things like steak. I limited chicken. I would like soups and chilies and things like that. I stopped being able to take big vitamins when I used to take them just fine. Yeah, I never would have thought that was eating disorder related, but it was. And when I started taking the medication and getting therapy, that went away. It went away. Another one of my symptoms, and that was where my body dysmorphia comes in, is that I did not see myself as other people saw me, and I had really low regard for myself. I could not take a compliment, and people would think that I was like being humble or something like that. But no, I literally could not take a compliment. I thought they were making fun of me. I just kind of shrugged off, or I wouldn't accept it. I made my personality out of making fun of myself, being self-deprecating, and saying hurtful shit about myself before someone else could get the chance to say it about me. The last episode I had with body dysmorphia was also in March. I had to come out here to San Diego to house hunt because we previously lived in Maryland. And I had an anxiety attack for the days leading up to the trip. I was having constant anxiety attacks and heart palpitations and dry mouth and everything else. And I was terrified that I was too fat to sit in the plane in one seat. Times I had just flown like 2 months before. We had just flown, and I knew that wasn't rational, but I was still scared anyway. And so I was like sweating in the airport. My arms, my pits were sweating. My head was sweating. I was sweating because I was terrified that I was going to get on that plane and not be able to fit in a seat, and they would charge me extra, or take me off the plane because they didn't have any extra seats. And of course I got on the plane, and of course I sat in the seat. I was just fine. It was nothing, but I really thought that I wouldn't be able to sit in the seat. And that's what body dysmorphia does to you. It makes you doubt everything. It makes you look in the mirror and not even know what you're looking at. I didn't really buy clothes that fit me for years and years and years. My husband always was like, why you wear your clothes so big? You know, like that doesn't fit. And I'm like, it does fit. Oh, it does fit. So I was buying sizes 16 and 18. And like this sweater that I'm wearing, it fits just fine, and it's a size medium. Last year at this time, if I had purchased this sweater, I probably would have gotten it in a 2XL, men's 2XL, and thought that that's how it should fit on me. Once I was in recovery, I started to be able to see my body how most people saw it. I got some new clothes, and it turns out that I'm a size 10, 12, and so, or medium large. And I had been buying like 2XL, 16, 18, for years because I thought that's what I was. And I wasted so much time hating myself. And I don't want, if I can stop one person from going through their lives like that, I wasted so much time. I wasted so much of my life. Who knows how much this held me back from doing what I really wanted to do in my life because I was just so scared. I also found out that I was losing my hair at an accelerated rate because of my diet. I went on a diet called Ideal Protein Diet, and it was basically the calories that you consumed every day was between 600 and 700, and you ate like these prepackaged foods and things like that. Over the course of 3 weeks, I lost all of the hair that I had grown back over the past 2 years. And I do have hormonal issues, which is why my hair is thinning. That's something I can't help, but I certainly didn't help matters when I lost all of my hair after fighting so hard to grow it back. And my dermatologist, you know, she's a doctor, she's professional, so she wasn't like showing disappointment, but more concern. And she asked me if I had talked to my doctor about this diet and all of my dieting practices. And I told her no. And she says, well, I think that you should have to make a decision if you want your hair or if you want to lose weight. She says, are you unhealthy? I said, I don't think so. She says, do you honestly think that you need to lose weight like this? I said, I just want to lose weight. She says, well, you can lose weight. She says, but why don't you wait until your hair is in a healthier state? And then when you start going on diets and losing weight, you cannot go under 1,200 calories because your body will start taking from your hair, your teeth, and your nails. And if those things are important to you, then you need to diet in a different way. And I know that she was very concerned about my eating habits and the fact that I lost so much hair as a result of trying to lose weight. I got off that diet and it took me another 6 months for my hair to get back to the way it was, which was hard. That was devastating. But I think that opened my eyes up a little bit to extreme dieting. Not enough to stop, but enough to where I knew that it would cause me some kind of harm if I continued to do that. So that's it. That is my story. That's what I'm doing. I'm in recovery. I'm so much happier now than I was before. As part of my treatment, I cannot do diets right now, and I cannot weigh myself. I am scared that I will gain weight, but so far I haven't. As a matter of fact, I've actually lost weight since I started eating just regular food. But some days I do struggle. I've been struggling a lot more through this pandemic. I feel so alone. And it's just, you know, all we do is read or watch TV and eat, you know? And that's hard for anyone. And that's all people want to talk about is food. And so I don't have the urge to binge eat or anything. I'm just scared that I'm going to lose control, that the meds won't even be able to stop me. I'm scared of that, but my doctor adjusted my pills, so hopefully I'll be fine. I just have to have more strength and I have to have more confidence in myself. And I have been very horrible to myself, and it's taking a lot for me to trust what I'm saying and how I'm feeling, and to look in the mirror and see that, you know, I'm a size 12. And that's not anything to be proud of or ashamed of. It just is. That's my body. I'm in a really good place for the most part. I was in a better place a month ago, but when this is unprecedented. So I'm trying not to be too hard on myself. So I don't know that there are many people out there who look like me who have eating disorders. And even if they do, people are actively working against us to make sure that A, we either don't get help for them, or B, trying to convince you that it's all in your head, that you really don't have these issues. I actually had someone tell me on Twitter when I was talking about it. It was a guy, And he said, ah, man, that's white people shit. Black people don't get eating disorders. Get a new doctor. And I'm like, that's so harmful. We're human. We're absolutely human, and we do get eating disorders. Black girls do get eating disorders. And if I had seen a woman who looked like me, who made a video like this and detailed her symptoms, I might have seen something in her that I had inside of me, and maybe I would have gotten help a little bit sooner. So I think that I have shared all that I can possibly share. I know that I'm forgetting something. I'm going to be editing. I'm like, oh gosh, I should have told them about this and that. But you know, I think that I went over the most important things and what to look for if you think that you might have an eating disorder. If you think that you do, I would recommend going to see a doctor immediately. Don't put it off. And if you can't see a doctor, there are resources and centers and organizations that can help you at least learn to manage your disorders. But you don't deserve this. It's just something, a misfire happening in our brains. So that's it. That's the end of this video. I hope that it wasn't too solemn and like depressing. I apologize if it was, but that's just my mood right now. It's just my mood. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. If you want to talk privately, my email box is open. I will make my email available in the description box in case anyone wants to talk to me about it. You can follow my journey on Instagram. I will leave that information below as well. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I am so close to 1,000, and once, like I said, once we get to 1,000, things are going to be popping around here. So yeah, just any support you can give me, I appreciate. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.